destroy the very world they are trying to save. So we have now a great argument against ethics, against morality, and against religion because they are old-fashioned. Well, now what is old-fashioned? Old-fashioned, we might say, can best be detected or discovered by a study of what happens and how things came into existence that are important to us. One of the oldest codes of ethics and morality the world has known was the Code of Hammurabi, king of Babylonia. This code was brought into existence 1800 BC. Now that's a long time back. That would be very easy to outgrow, we would think. We ought to be a long way from Babylonia. The country is gone, but the code lingers on. Well, what does the code say? The code says that if you cheat your neighbor, you're going to be punished for it. If you build a house and shoddy the goods and materials and it falls down, you build another one without charge, or else you go to jail. If you steal, you are punished. If you perform good labors, you are honored. You're expected to honor your parents. You're expected to honor society and keep the rules of society, protect and raise your children properly, and live a good, solid, serious life without too much alcohol. Now, this is what they believed 1800 years before the beginning of the Christian era. Well, you can see from the very statement that it was very impractical. It was against all of the best rules of competition. It would prevent miscellaneous characters from gradually controlling the world by finance alone and defending the finance with heavy artillery and bombs. Oh, that is so ancient. We have outgrown things like that. We have outgrown the dignity of the home. We have outgrown the dignity of the respect for parent. We have outgrown the love of labor and the realization that God likes people who work. Now God rewards people for not working. All this was very prehistoric. You couldn't possibly tell the individual today who has just come out of Yale or Harvard that the old code has immediate and vital meaning. Well, a while after that came along one of the greatest thinkers of antiquity, Akhenaten, king of Egypt. The Pharaoh, who was the first, long ago, to say that all living peoples, all creatures in fact, were created free and equal. That every individual, regardless of his station, is worthy of respect. He is to be respected for what he does and for what he is and not for what he has. And that's real heresy. You have realized that that's totally unreasonable. We must respect people who have large bank accounts. We must allow those with the greatest means to be the ideals that we struggle to emulate. It was Akhenaten also who was the first patron of woman suffrage. And when he married Nefertiti, and they sat together on the throne of Egypt, he would refer to her, my queen, who is myself. No break, no interval, equal in every respect. He also was one of those who brought out the rather simple idea that was too fast for its own time, that war was a mistake, that you do not fight, that war will never produce peace. He knew that, and for that he died. Died as a young man, either of a broken heart or by poison, according to what account you read, because the country wanted war, profit. It wanted to break down the idea of equalities and enslave humanity. Now, about the same time as Akhenaten was flourishing in Egypt for a while, Moses received the tablets of the law from the peaks of Sinai. And the 10 Commandments, or the Decalogue, is about 3,000 years, maybe a little more than 3,000 years old, obviously extinct. We don't have those kind of things anymore. Honor thy father and thy mother. Interferes with the prophet system. Be good to the stranger. Take in the helpless and the homeless and feed them. Oh, no, not now. And Moses didn't have any Social Security to back him up either. Moses said, thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not bear false witness. All these things. But that was 3,000 or more years ago. And they tell us now that we shouldn't pay attention to those kind of things. We've outgrown them. And we've outgrown them so far and so fast that we are in desperate condition from the pressures that we put upon our own personalities. The first Christian code was that of Justinian. And it added to the other factors, elements, certain graces of the Spirit, certain new dimensions of human idealism. It made the New Testament, particularly the Sermon on the Mount, a basis of legal construction. You could build a code upon it that could be properly applied and enforced. This also was quite a long time ago. But every code that has come along since that time has been a little worse. Day by day the codes go down instead of the people rising. And in order to govern people today, you have to apparently excuse all their limitations, forgive all their misdemeanors, and tell them that they live in a free enterprise system. Now this seems to interfere with the idea of a universe that has something ruling it beside the individual. Now here we can go back to another earlier period of time before people wrote codes. These earlier times are still represented by primitive peoples or the traditions that they have left behind. One of the most common codes of antiquity was that the only way that the individual at this time can come to any understanding of right and wrong is by observing life around him. Nature is his best teacher. Nature tells him what he can do and what he cannot do. And in the ancient times, primitive peoples obeyed nature. In our modern and far more advanced culture, we do everything possible to evade and avoid natural law. We do not want natural law to hold control. We know what happens, but we don't care. We know that natural law is not in favor of cocaine, but it's used. We know that natural law is not in favor of destroying the lives and securities of other people, but we do it. Little by little, we have created a new attitude, an amoral attitude toward existence. We have rejected all of the footings that we have ever discovered, and in the place of them, create a code of complete individual prerogatives. Do as you please. Well, that would be maybe a little more excusable if we did something that was pleasing, but we don't. And we find ourselves little by little bringing down all of the principles that once inspired us and making them servants to our ambitions. We make virtues out of our vices instead of trying to correct them. Yet we live in a universe which we must face sometime. We haven't solved it. We have not been able to bribe the infinite. We have not been able to place one of our own kind on the throne of heaven. We do not know how to administer ourselves, but all-wise providence has also given us such limitations that there are only certain mistakes that we can make. If we knew of more, we would make them also, but fortunately we don't know all of them. But here is a world that we're looking for basics in. And here we have a whole world of object lessons. We can go to every part of the earth and find out the truths of things. We can sit quietly and watch, even on television, a great many things that are essentially true if we want to think about them, or untrue which we should know about. And yet, with all these things, the individual makes very little effort to change himself. He knows that things are wrong, but he believes that freedom is very important. He has